Yeah, it's so synchronized.
So synchronized.
Okay,
Okay.
I don't know what to talk about, but
Yeah.
let's just start.
Here we are.
Yeah, I was gonna talk to the camera. So we're in my studio now, and I had the opportunity to meet Andrew Huang, which I met just once actually before.
Just once, yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like just once because we've talked quite a bit and messaged quite a bit. but
Yeah,
just once at NAMM, 2 NAMMs ago.
yeah. Yeah, that's right. So I wanted to speak to you about your, creativity and everything. But because when I'm checking out your channel, it's just you're so active. You're like spitting out really interesting, both short and longer videos about music creation and about your own music production and releasing songs. And it looks so cool. How do you keep it going?
No, it is really constant. But I don't know. I feel like I look at you and I kind of feel the same way because you've got pretty intense video output sometimes, and I feel like we share a similar music ethos. Of just we love creating, and we are excited about exploring something new. Maybe more than performing all the old things again and again.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's what drives me is like the exploration and the excitement of something that I made that's new and original, and I can share it, and it's obviously there's influences, but maybe there's nothing that's quite like this that's gone out into the world before.
But you've become really interested in recording sounds and making music out of recordings, basically.
Yeah.
Of different objects and stuff.
In a way, it's like a shortcut to being unique, just because so many people tend to just go for instruments or the software that's designed to make music, and I think those things are great, but when you just like find whatever's around you, and then you get these sounds that no one else is really incorporating into I don't know, into music, into these aren't sounds you deliberately normally want to hear, but you can work with them in ways that are interesting. So it's kind of a fun and like accessible way to do something different.
I think the first video I saw of yours was this dentist's video.
Oh.
That was, both super nice produced, really well shot, and lighting was great.
Oh, thank you.
And then with his dental...
Yeah, it was all practical lighting too,
dental
actually.
equipment.
Just the dentist's office.
Yeah.
All the fluorescent
lights,
and then the one in the chair, obviously, that shines in your mouth.
Did they have like a picture in the ceiling for kids? Like when I was a kid,
I think
it was almost like a cartoon in the ceiling.
It's the sky. They just painted it all blue with some clouds. Yeah, which is nice, I guess.
Yeah.
I've been in some dentists where they just have a TV and like that's kind of nice. You get distracted, but it feels it doesn't feel inviting. It just feels like
you feel pain, but there is a cartoon.
Yeah, like stimulate you so that you don't realize what's going on.
Speaking of stimulation, what stimulates you in the process of making music? Is it like something that gets you excited right in the middle of the process, or is it like you just hit the wall like everyone else and I just need to get through this wall and then...
Yeah, I guess I feel like I hit smaller walls these days than I used to. Sometimes I remember like really getting stuck and like not feeling inspired by anything, and now I feel like if I get a little bit stuck somewhere, I can open up a different project or explore a different genre or a different set of tools maybe even, and find something that's fun again. But I don't know. I think like the exciting thing is new sounds and new combinations of sounds and doing finding a new way to express the old emotions that we all are always feeling and expressing, that have been with humanity forever, but we've whether it's with technology or I don't know,
I feel like
new
whenever
perspectives, we share things in different ways as time goes on.
When I feel the same, like I'm exploring constantly searching for new sounds and new combinations of sounds, but more in an electronic kind of world.
For sure.
But sometimes when I'm listening to music, I feel like I get bored sometimes. And I'm like, wouldn't it be cool if it had this quality that hasn't been really... I don't know. I haven't heard all the music in the world, obviously, but I'm searching for something that pleases me when I'm creating music. And a lot of people have told me it sounds very much like me and my music. I get so happy to hear that. And when I hear your music and with this recording style that you're working with, I think it's also like uniquely your music.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I feel a lot of the same things. The new music that I'm listening to and that I'm searching for, it always has to have some kind of, spark of something different to really hold my interest and get excited about. I think, there's something really wonderful about a beautifully written song, a great melody with a strong chord progression, and that's great, but ideally, my ears are always looking for something new and something where I'm like, oh, how did they do that? I haven't heard that before. Yeah.
And recently, I've been a bit challenged by the modular community. Before this year, I was thinking modulars to be just one thing. It always sounds the same to me. But this year I went to Bastel Instruments and shot a documentary with them, and I kept meeting all these people playing modular music, and nobody played the same way. They all sounded uniquely different. I was, opening up to modulars now. Also challenged to I ask myself, what is a melody? Because I'm like a melody-holic.
Yeah.
And I thrive on making melodies, But can melodies be made with a modular? Of course they can, but it's a different kind of melody. You're navigating in a tonal landscape.
It's a completely different approach to making music and performing, and that's cool to hear, though, because I'm less familiar with the modular world, and I think I did also have that impression of a lot of it feeling kind of samey, and then every once in a while, I stumble across an artist like we were talking recently about Caitlin Aurelia Smith, who's doing fantastic new, she's really breaking new ground, I think, in that world, and I think it's almost entirely modular, which is so impressive, but no, it's cool to know that there's so much depth to that field. Yeah. Are you looking over at your your system over here? Are you kind of searching for your own direction and style right now with that? Are you still learning how to use the modules, or where are you at?
It's quite new for me, my little modular. I had like a modular before with the WM devices and the keyboard, and I sort of got into it, but it didn't really get to me. I felt like if you're gonna play keys, then more often I want to go polyphonic, and polyphonic music with a modular is very tricky to set up.
Yeah.
And then after my trip to Bastel, I don't know. Now I got this little system, compact. It's called a Rumbo rack, the actual rack, and I picked my modules that I want in it, and I feel like every time I start out with it, I could quickly get something fun going. It's not like I'm gonna perform fully with a modular system, I think, but it's a recording tool for finding modulated rhythms or pieces of music that's going into another production. I think it's super fun. I mean, it's very much in that exploratory world of sound where you can be very precise about it and then put together these crazy patches, and there's also so much opportunity to just find happy accidents, and it's a lot of fun. So I think it's here to stay, the modulars, and it's boom. At Super Booth the other month, it was like, I don't know, 80% modular and 20% other things.
Yeah, wow.
It has like a super big impact on electronic music now.
That's cool that it's like becoming more accessible, I guess. I think it's still a little bit expensive in most cases, but yeah, that's cool. It's kind of like, I don't know, I see a parallel to the way vinyl's kind of coming back, you know? It's like a little bit more of a an audio appreciators sort of format, but becoming more popular, becoming more accessible.
Yeah, I want to go back a bit. When you was a kid, did you grow up in a musical family or?
Yeah, it was definitely pretty musical. Like my mom's a pianist and a singer, and my brother and I were studying piano from really young. I had a little tape recorder that I was just like, I remember I would record like cartoon character impressions and stuff on it, and then
I did video game impressions.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So I kind of like was learning about music on the one hand, and then like learning on my own about recording, and kind of followed those paths to where I am now, where eventually you move on to figuring out how recording on a computer works, and I was always trying to explore any new instruments I could get my hands on, and just really excited about every new genre that I could find. So I think I was always excited about music as a whole, and the possibilities, and wanting to push the boundaries of it.
Like I was probably in my before I got 10, I didn't know it wasn't like a musical family or anything. There were no one playing of my parents or anything, but my stepdad, he came in a bit later. He played the guitar, and we didn't play together much, but sometimes we did, and it inspired me, I guess. But I think I found all my inspiration back then in video games, because I found those tunes were so insanely catchy, and so when I met with my friends, some of my friends, we challenged each other. Do you know this song? And I'm trying to play it on the piano, and he was like, yeah, I know it. And even with sounds, we're trying to mimic the sounds of characters in the video games. Like, do you know this sound? Just doing it with our voice, and then like, it's this, the boss in Metroid.
Nice. Did you have any like formal study then with music?
In my hometown, Norrköping in Sweden, there is when I was about 9 years old, and you're crossing over from the first kids' school to the next stadium, mellanstadiet, I don't know what it's called. When you're 10 years old, you shift into a different grade. They got this opportunity to apply for a music school. So I applied, and I got into this music school, meaning it's a regular school, but it also there's also like music teaching once a day.
Oh, sweet.
Every day. So musically talented kids tried to apply for this school. There were 2 schools in my town, and so it was part of my school, I guess, just singing notes, harmonics, and stuff like that.
That's great. An hour of music a day. Great for a school to have. I think. I don't remember what my school was like. It wasn't every day, but I don't know, something like maybe 3 or 4 times a week for 45, 50 minutes. But I did have a really good high school music teacher, and he introduced me to a lot of interesting genres. Not like super in depth, but he would kind of give us a brief history and a little taste, and I was hooked on everything. It was like bebop, and even like Stockhausen, and I don't know, just all over, and of course all the classical stuff. But it really like broadened my horizons really quickly.
Did you ever write sheet notes?
I did, yeah, because I was learning to read it to play piano, and then that's sort of where I learned theory, and I kind of kept studying it on my own. But I used to want to compose classical stuff, and I think,
me too.
Yeah, I mean, there's something really nice about the sounds of an orchestra and all those classical instruments and what they can do all together, but it's a lot of work too. I don't know, I enjoyed it, but I think almost everything has been said with that kind of format. I think, I'm more interested in exploring other things and maybe incorporating those instruments in a way, but not necessarily composing like an orchestral piece.
In my late teens, I was doing like Mozart was my biggest hero at the time, and I especially studied his quartets, like string quartets. And as my final exam project at the time, I wrote a string quartet, and had people perform it for me, and that was like my first real. For that whole year when I was doing that, I was also writing for piano and violin, and a friend of mine played the harp. I wrote something for her, and as a teenager, everything is possible and exciting, and now I feel like I'm excited. I'm still excited, but it gets like it's not as easy to get excited anymore. But I'm trying to find new things to get excited for, and with electronic music and synthesizer, it has been key to my excitement, keeping it alive.
No, I think that I'm kind of the same way, but maybe I don't know, maybe it's just like how much time you have already put into something, like we've done a lot of sheet music by now. We have been through that whole process a lot of times, so maybe we can't get that excitement back, but I don't know. There's always a new synthesizer to explore.
Yeah.
Do you remember your first dive into synthesis?
We had like an organ, like a really crappy. It wasn't crappy, like a basic electric organ.
Yeah.
And it had like a rhythm section and a couple of sounds, and I found it a lot of fun. Mom wanted to send me to a school for teaching me how to play organ specifically, but and we did, but I got so bored by playing the music that they provided for me, so I learned everything by ear, and then I just played video game music basically. But I think my first synthesizer experience must have been a friend of mine. He had like a Yamaha, a little it was big for me at the time, but it was, I don't know, this size, no, a bit bigger, but it was like a small synthesizer with lots of presets, but you could record.
Oh, nice.
And that was really cool. And some friends of mine, they got some small synthesizer, and some of them could sample and reverse the sample and slow it down and stuff, which I found insanely funny. And then I think my own, I made music on the Amiga at the time.
Oh,
it was a computer and a software called Pro Tracker. So basically 4 tracks of music with samples.
Is it like a tracking, like what is commonly called a tracker nowadays?
I don't know what's called a tracker today, but back then it's like a vertical.
Like
text.
You kind of like input the parameters of each note. So I've played with some of those, but not that one.
Yeah, but then also connected to this, my final exams in whatever school when I was 18. When I was going to compose this string quartet, I bought a synthesizer.
Nice.
So my first own synthesizer was a Korg M1.
Oh, classic.
Yeah, because I went to the synth store every day after school, tried all the synths there. I was super excited, and I always ended up with a Korg M1 because it had all these orchestral sounds and a sequencer. So I could I think it was 8 tracks actually.
Yeah.
You could do 8 tracks of sequenced music.
That's awesome.
It was awesome. That was like my, yeah.
I think I'm a little younger than you, so I had a keyboard growing up that was like a Roland, I don't know, it had a whole bunch of presets, and like the drums were all the like MIDI, like GM kind of standard sounds, and then there were a few different, I don't know, I kind of think of them as like the sort of classic, like very MIDI sounds of like you get the jazz guitar emulation and the 2 different types of trumpets, and I don't know. So I played around with that, but I think I kind of like jumped right from that into software, and it wasn't until after that, you know, I learned how a synthesizer works and you know what the kind of main components are in, you know, Fruity Loops with free VSTs or something, and it wasn't until later that I got into like some more proper synths, and it might have been several years of actually just using like whatever I could find online.
Yeah. I think actually, to be honest, the piracy scene in the 90s and early 2000s, I think that has been very fruitful for music creation.
Yeah.
I mean, now I'm a grown up, I make money, so now I pay for everything. But as a kid, I think you shouldn't be too hard on them pirating software.
For
it's
sure,
just very, very fruitful.
And everybody, you know, having access to those kinds of tools that, you know, let you kind of explore and learn a lot about music on your own, that's like invaluable. I definitely, you know, didn't used to pay for everything.
No.
Found those, what was it, like Kazaa cracked versions of stuff. But actually, and nowadays I think there's like so much good free stuff too. Anyway, now that with the whole app scene, there's like hundreds of tools out there that you can like play with and even produce really great stuff with.
I recently went to see Mouse on Mars perform, and they performed on iOS devices only.
Yeah.
They were like, it was like a very informal sort of mood on stage. They were just hanging out around a table and just flicking phones and here's an iPad, okay, let's do this and this.
Was it like a really crazy setup? Did they have like 20 devices or something, or was it?
No, it was like, I don't know, 5 or 6 devices or something.
Right, okay, yeah.
And then someone else came in and then they had this rapper that came in like a puppet.
Oh, cool.
It took a little bit too much of the show, I think. But it was an interesting format. But,
that's cool. They've always been very creative. They were one of the first electronic acts I got into. I think I heard about them on like the IDM mailing list in the 90s. Yeah. And then, you know, I saw their record in the shop and I was like, I'll check it out. And I still have it, I'm pretty sure. A couple of their albums on vinyl. That's really cool that you know what you can do on like your phone nowadays, and I think it's going to be interesting to see where it goes, because I think there is so much value that hardware provides, and even like, you know, a computer compared to a touch device I think is a more robust experience. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's like, what are the results that you can get? And, you know.
And I think also, like, with the modular scene and the app industry, they're trying to be compatible. There is this spirit of comradeship in the music industry now. Maybe not among the bigger guys, but modules, they have to work together. They're finding like a standard to follow, and when they're promoting their own stuff, they're always having, you know, modules from other manufacturers in the picture, in the frame, not trying to be like the sole.
Right. That's cool.
Yeah, it's such a nice vibe. And with the apps as well, you know, somebody creates like this audio copy format, and then it becomes a standard, and people try to adopt it, and a bit later in the game, but very like a substantial entrance is like Ableton.
I was gonna say like making Link happen,
yeah.
and then they do that Loop event, which is like not promotional for Ableton at all, and they're not trying to like make money from it, but it's just about like fostering the community and like getting innovative musicians and producers and technologists in the same space.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a cool time right now, a cool community.
It is. I think it's cool for especially the younger demographic growing up now to see that, you know, people are actually collaborating. It's not like the race to become the top, but they're inviting each other into each other's professional spheres. I think I like that.
Yeah. Things are good.
Yeah.
There's sort of a parallel, I think, with the YouTube community. It's kind of like, it's very different in different pockets, I guess. And I think a few years ago it might have been a little more unified in that kind of attitude of like everyone who was a YouTuber was for the most part helping other YouTubers out. But there still exists, a lot of that collaborative spirit. And I think like this is a prime example of how it just like brings together all different kinds of people to kind of like take creativity to the next level.
Yeah,
really cool.
And YouTube themselves, they seem to be pretty cool about content creators as well. It's not like they're trying to harvest, but they're trying to lift them into the light.
Yeah, no, it's really great. I have some contact with a few different arms of YouTube, and they're very supportive of their creators. They really, it's not just the people at the top who get the attention, but they really want to make it possible for a smaller creator to not even necessarily to like rocket up and become the next big thing, but just to be able to give a lot of people the opportunity to kind of make their passion into kind of like a small business, to be able to turn their video creation or whatever they're excited about sharing into a big part of their living.
Yeah. For me, I made that, I crossed into being a professional YouTuber sort of thing last year. So from August last year, 2016, I quit all my other gigs and it was just my YouTube and Patreon is a very, like the most important part of it. And it's working out fine.
Yeah.
It's been amazing.
Yeah, it's super cool. Patreon is like a huge piece of that, I think, too.
Yeah.
Like AdSense can be good at times, but Patreon I think is a game changer for everyone I know who's using it.
So for anyone who doesn't know what Patreon is, it's like a service. It's like a subscription-based crowdfunding where you're not funding stuff up front, but you're like tipping.
Yeah, it's like an ongoing Kickstarter, kind of like supporting a creator instead of just one project of theirs. Yeah, so, which is a genius idea. And, it's also like I was talking to a friend about this recently, but it's an incredible way to like tap into the value that you're providing and that can come back to you, because if I think I have 900 or 1,000 patrons right now, and if you just think of like without Patreon, those 900 or 1,000 people, if they're just watching my videos, I'm getting like a few dollars from them. Yeah. And that's it. And maybe some of them will download some of my songs, and that's another few dollars. But now, because Patreon's there and it allows me to like give them a little bit more like exclusive stuff or a little more connection, there's like a very significant and regular stream of income that just wouldn't have been there in any other way.
Yeah. And I think the people that are gathering around Patreon, it says something about this group that they're willing to support artists or creators. It says something about these people. It's like they're generous, they're supportive, they're honest, I guess. It's some good karma about the whole thing. So when discussions arise in the Patreon thread, it's like the most lovely people.
Yeah.
And on the YouTube page, it's a bit more random, but it's very positive there as well. But around Patreon, people are different. I think it's a different breed.
Definitely. Yeah, it's cool people who've like chosen to be invested and who maybe understand the value of art. Not that of course, there's people who can't join on Patreon because of their financial situation or whatever. But it's a really cool community. Yeah, and just a cool way to connect with the people whose who your work resonates with. I think that on YouTube the comments are really all over the place and you don't really know where things are coming from, but Patreon is a little bit more genuine of a connection.
So what's next? Have you got like a roadmap or like a future?
Oh man, no, I never have had a roadmap, but I think I go where it feels right at the time, and that hasn't led me too far wrong so far. But it's changed so much every like 2 or 3 years for me from where I started, and what was it, like 13 years ago now was when I first started like putting my work online, getting commissions online, and then every few years it's kind of shifted of in terms of what kind of stuff I'm creating, who's paying me, what platforms I'm on. So I think I'm YouTube is really great right now. I really hope it continues for a long time, but I also have no idea if it will. I'm excited to just like keep riding the wave and being prolific wherever the platform is. What about you? What's your direction right now?
I sort of stumbled into YouTube I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago, and slowly it became more and more interesting to me. I think it started with
that's how I found you.
With the Opie one.
When I was maybe about to buy one, or I just had bought mine, I was like, let's learn some tricks with this, and you had the most interesting videos about it.
Cool. So when I got this one, I was actually about to sort of stop making music. I made an album shortly before this, and nothing really happened with that album. I didn't I didn't work hard enough to follow up on the release or anything. And I was working with my second album that is still not happened. And after some time of doing that, I was just, I think I'm gonna quit music and just do animation and leave music to the more professional music people. And then I got this one and made a couple of videos, and I saw so many positive comments arise from those videos. And then I made a song called Goodbye, which was actually supposed to be my goodbye song, my exit.
So from sad.
Oh. And that performance, it was like just this and some vocals. I got so much positive feedback and cool comments, and I felt like, this means something to me that I have never experienced before. To get this instant feedback, positive feedback, and it helped me create this positive room on my channel on YouTube, and I decided to keep going. And from that on, I remember at some point I made like a plan. If I ever get 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, I will do something big. And then at some point I got 1,000 subscribers, and I was like, what am I gonna do? I don't know. I just kept going, and suddenly it grew, and Yeah.
That's so
But,
cool. I
yeah.
can't believe we were so close to having a world without a cuckoo channel.
Yeah. Woo!
Man.
But in the future, I think what I would like to do, what I've done now since I quit all other gigs, is to devote more time to my channel, to my music. And this year I've done something I wanted to do for a very long time. I made like a documentary about Bastel instruments.
Yeah.
And it's a 1 hour documentary covered over the span of 1 week. And that was a lot of fun making, and something that I've been wanting to do for a long time. Like little documentaries about different music communities, and that is something I want to do more of. But I don't have like an immediate plan of my next documentary. This is one. It's not a documentary.
Yeah.
It's a talk.
Cool little chat.
Yeah, so I want to do more of that. Find different musicians or music communities, sub communities, and make a little, maybe not 1 hour every time, but a little more compact, maybe portrait of a community.
And you just want to like release these on your YouTube channel?
Yeah.
Cool.
That is one thing. Another thing is I want to start releasing music. Because that one album I released like 1,000 years ago feels a bit dated, and I was very happy that I was actually pulling it off at that time, because I've never done anything like it. But now I want to start releasing music. So I'm creating music now that is slated for release later this year. That's the plan.
Exciting.
But I'm gonna do singles. So
yeah, like I would love to get into like what your thoughts about releasing music are these days, because I think everything's shifting so quickly, and I'm kind of in between ideas of how I want to do things. And right now everything goes on YouTube first.
Yeah.
And sometimes early to Patreon, but not always. And there's a lot of stuff I put out where if you like it, what you hear on YouTube, the only place to get it is Patreon.
Yeah.
And like every few months, maybe at this point just a couple times a year, I get it to Spotify, iTunes, whatever. But there's so much that I don't know, it doesn't always make sense to do that. So I'd love to know what you're kind of thinking in terms of like, are you doing physical stuff these days? Like how come singles?
Singles is like a way for me to know that I'm gonna be able to finish stuff and put it out. Because if I'm thinking an album, I love albums. When I'm listening to music, I mostly listen to albums, actually.
Yeah, me too.
Whole albums from start to finish. But if I'm thinking to produce a whole album, I don't know if I'm gonna make it. If I'm gonna be able to pull it off,
Mm-hmm.
It has to be at least, I don't know, 10 tracks or something. And they need to be following the same. It's like a red line going through the whole thing. I've been thinking about it a lot, but I think when I started to think about singles, it all makes sense in my head. Release like a single. Maybe I could release like a playlist that I update, and that playlist could become an album eventually. But maybe I don't pay that much attention to the order of the songs or stuff. But I want to, so singles, because I want to make sure that I can release stuff without going into this hitting the wall again.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting too, kind of thinking about the history of the album, and I love albums. I think it's a great way to experience a body of work and a great way to say something that you can't do with just one song. But it's also kind of it's an artificial format that was in a lot of ways dictated by what recording mediums were being used, and now we're in such a new place in terms of just how available music is, and how quickly it can be made and how quickly it can reach people, that it's hard to think that it makes sense to like wait 2 or 3 years in between dropping a batch of 10 or 15 songs and then touring those for the next 2 or 3 years before going quiet again to work on the next bunch. Like, that just seems so weird.
Big artists, they still work like that.
For sure. Yeah.
But I think like smaller artists and like indie artists, I think it's beneficial to release stuff on a more ongoing basis.
Yeah, definitely.
I think then you can present stuff when it's fresh and when it's new and when.
I think the album cycle lends itself to like making a lot of hype and excitement around when it's released. Like, it's a bigger deal than just a single, and that's, I think,
and I'm also
a lot
thinking
about marketing psychology.
About the people who are supporting me on Patreon. It's been such a long time and I haven't released any music, and I feel really like several years has passed and I haven't been able to actually give them a song. I feel really bad about that.
Well,
but thinking about
that's another interesting thing, though, because I feel like
give them as much as I can.
Yeah, but I think a lot of your audience enjoys like the way that you kind of release your jams and your sketches and stuff, and it's a cool, I don't know, it's a different way to experience music. It doesn't always have to be some kind of perfectly polished song, but it's there's something, I think, more natural in a way, a little more like primal about like a jam, and seeing something come together and knowing that it was on the fly rather than planned out.
And that brings me to another point with the distribution of music today. Like, you're thinking like a YouTube thing, and then get to my Patreon if you want the songs. And I'm also thinking like that, but I want to be able to maybe make 2 different products with one song. So on YouTube, if I make like a music video, like a traditional something cool, it could be the studio version of the song, but I also want to do like a live performance of the songs, where you shoot it in an interesting way and show what's going on and show people that, this is actually being performed live, and so I want to do that too. That's and also cool. I started like a web store earlier this year where I'm releasing patches.
Like from the songs that you're releasing, or just like
right now it's not from the song, it is from my library of patches. I'm trying to get all of them out there as soon as possible, but it's taking some time.
Nice.
But the music is also going to be available on my own web store,
right?
I think. Because and I made like a little survey among my followers, and it seems that Bandcamp is the most common one for people to buy music. And it surprised me.
That is a great platform. It didn't seem like among the most popular.
So it's probably among electronic music it's bigger, I guess. So I think I'm gonna do like Bandcamp, my own store, and then the big ones.
Bandcamp also is great just for like the flexibility of it, and the you manage your own uploads and all that kind of stuff. You can add to an album, you can make the lowercase and uppercase like whatever you want. I was trying to submit something to Spotify a little while ago, and they wouldn't accept it because the songs were too short. And they have rules about that. Well, it was 9 or 10, I think it was 10 songs, and they're like 45 seconds to a minute or a minute and a half, and it's like, I don't know.
What sucks.
Yeah. I mean, there's like punk bands who have songs like, I don't know, legit songs that are like that, and it's just a weird
rule. This is not a song. Like, a song should be 3 minutes and 14 seconds.
So we do not want to have that on our platform where we can take the majority of the streaming money. We just won't allow it. I don't know.
That's weird. Yeah.
So I guess in this world where there's still so much openness and possibility, there's still restrictions based on the new mediums, the new distribution models, about, you know,
doesn't
not necessarily what you're
it's-
going to make, but how you're going to reach people.
Yeah, cool. So now, you're actually on your way to Gothenburg now, right?
Yeah, I'm headed there tomorrow to work with 3 other YouTubers, good friends of mine, who we just want to try and get a bunch of awesome, creative, collaborative stuff happening in like an intense 2-week little cottage getaway. Should be exciting.
Cool.
Come out with a good amount of new content. It's really exciting, but it's also difficult to do YouTube at the pace that I'm doing it, and I hope I can keep it up because I really love it, but you also need some time to be able to recharge. So what I hope will happen is this 2 weeks I'll be able to make more videos than I normally make in a 2-week period and be able to get a little bit ahead.
Do you usually like stack up with videos?
I do as much as I can, but you know, sometimes, like right now, I knew I was coming here and then going to Sweden, so I got a little bit ahead. Like this week, I only had a few hours I needed to put into this week's 2 videos. Yeah. But then, sometimes it's like right up to the hour that I upload that I'm working on that video, and then I have to do the next one from scratch after that. Yeah. Are you, I mean, it seems like you pretty much immediately release as you create, because you're also not on a strict schedule.
Totally chaotic. I'm like, a lot of times I come into the studio, I have a plan, and then I'm like, it doesn't work out, and then the next day I feel like, I should have finished that thing I was doing yesterday, but I haven't done a video this month, and I have like 10 ideas, and then I just need to get going. I should plan it out a bit more, and I am planning it a little bit better now actually than like last year. So I think that I'm definitely going to do very soon this month is
the tonic.
The PO32 tonic.
I'm super excited about that one.
It sounds really cool. It sounds so good.
Yeah.
It's like a really serious machine.
Yeah, I think it's what I had hoped the pocket operators would be, you know? The other ones are great, but a little more limited. And I think that one really has a place among the hardware that we use more seriously.
Seriously, I think this is one of the coolest drum machines, period. It's not just the coolest portable drum machine. It's one of the coolest, because you can set it up with the software.
It's a really flexible sound engine.
So that is something I was hoping to do before you came, but then I did other things.
Well, maybe we should get into it today.
Yeah, maybe.
I would love to play with it. Put it in a track of mine, maybe. But are you working on a lot of different projects at once, or do you kind of like do one thing, get it out, and move on?
Mostly I do one. In terms of videos, I make one video at a time, and then I move on. But in terms of music, I'm trying to do the same because it's very convenient to stay focused on one thing.
Yeah, it's great when you can have that focus.
But it doesn't always work like that. Like, it's better now that I've quit, other gigs, but now it's still a challenge to finish songs, I think. So I got like one song that I started before you came, and just based on an orchestra track performance, and
What is it the same bottleneck that you hit every time in your process, or is finishing different every time?
Lyrics is a huge bottleneck for me.
Me too.
But I realized that the more lyrics I put in there, it kind of doesn't necessarily go really well with my music. So when I start to take lyrics out, it opens up more possibilities. And I kind of like when it's not, at least on my music, it doesn't have to be overly occupied with lyrics. Even though I totally appreciate great lyrics, but with my music, I think the electronic sounds are kind of occupying most of the space anyway, and the lyrics should just be like a hint of the story that I'm telling, not necessarily telling the whole, painting the whole picture, but just little seeds of text input. And I find that I've done 2 tracks now where I feel like that's the way I want to work. So now it's not as much of a bottleneck anymore.
Nice.
It is still a bottleneck, but less.
Yeah, I think it is for me too, only because it's such a different process from a lot of the rest of music creation, and you kind of, I don't know, with a lot of making music, it flows very naturally from one step to the next, and you're kind of like in front of your instruments or your software or whatever it is, and you're exploring, and it's easy to kind of move between different sounds and tasks and things like that. But kind of when it comes to lyrics, it's like, okay, I gotta decide to shut everything else out and focus on these, because it's sort of a separate part that you graft on. A lot of the times, I don't know, maybe other people work differently, but
another thing is, if I started up a song, working with a song a long time ago, and then I come back to it, maybe I forgot what sounds I was using. I tried to label everything in Logic, but perhaps I just don't like the song anymore because a year has passed, and so then I just redo it from scratch.
Interesting.
So most of the time when I pick old sketches, I start from scratch. It's not a bottleneck, but it adds time. Yeah.
That's interesting. There's occasional times I feel like I would do that, but for me, I don't know. I guess I really connect the song with like the exact textures I came up with while I was composing it, and it's either like finishing that or I'm gonna just discard the whole thing.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like there's something there, but the old sketch that I made is just mostly crap in my improved ears of today. And then I feel like, maybe I should try to do that. And then when I redo it, it becomes something totally different, which for me is fruitful, but sometimes I can hear an old sketch being much more catchy, much more...
it's got the magic,
right? It got something that the new one doesn't have, but I much prefer... I feel like I'm improving all the time.
Yeah.
And following up on something I made like 2 years ago, it doesn't always feel that fresh to me.
Yeah, well, that's why, like, with the new singles approach, it's going to be a well-oiled machine soon. It's going to be like, make something, get it out, no more problem of these problems. 2-year-old tracks. No.
Cool. Yeah. Well, it's been nice speaking to you.
Yeah, I'm glad we got into all these
having you
areas. Here. Yeah, this has been a fun trip. I'm, got another day still. I'm excited for what we're going to create with the remainder of our time.
We'll try to shoot some videos together today. I don't know why. I don't know why. I don't know what, I mean.
Yeah.
But it'll be something. Yeah. What do you want to do?
I have a little track that I think you could add some of your flavor to.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I would love to get into the tonic. The vocal was fun to play with yesterday.
Yeah.
Or maybe some of the electron stuff.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fun we could have. We had a good OP1 jam yesterday, so I'm glad that we at least got that.
Yeah, we'll get something going. Cool. Well, sweet. I think this is the end of the video, and
it's been a good chat.
Yeah, cool. Well, all the best of luck to the future.
Man. Always excited to check out your videos. So
cool.
I'm glad we got
and
to
this is on my channel, but check him out. He's awesome. Cool.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah.
I'm gonna press the buttons here. Rec.
Boop.